So it's actually a junction of four places. Sagaing Division, Kachin State, these are two Burmese provinces, and India's Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh. And also Pangshaw Pass, which is the starting point of the Great Steel Rail Road.
How serious? I mean, is it a very serious damage on them?
Well, if Noyan Mehdi has been killed, he is at the moment the number two man in the organization. He's effectively heading their military wing. So here we have the Indian Army has very good reasons to, sort of come up with some deniable argument, and that makes perfect sense. The Chinese have backed insurgencies in the past in Northeast India. They backed the Nagas, Mizos, and to a certain extent, they even trained some of the Meitei rebel groups, the Alpha. The Alpha have received a lot of backing from the Pakistani military intelligence, that is ISI, in the past. Their people have gone to Pakistan, through Bangladesh when they were based in Bangladesh. That is the case, and Alpha is quite unnerved. It will affect their rank and file.
Hi, I am Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. In this episode, we will discuss the reported drone attack at hideouts of northeastern militants, militant outlaw groups from India's northeastern part in Myanmar. On Sunday, we woke up with the news that there has been some drone attack and serious bombing in militant hideouts in Myanmar. I have with me Mr. Subir Bhaumik, a journalist par excellence and an undisputed expert on Northeast India, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. He worked in Myanmar, he knows Burmese, so he's really the man who can talk about the place. This will be a quick podcast, and I have basically two questions to you. The first one is regarding the criticality of this, criticality and geography of this attack. So how significant is the damage, and how would it impact these outlaw groups? From whatever I read, I get that these bombings, Indian attack or reported Indian attack, let me put it this way, had taken place in Langwa in Nagaland, in or around Langwa on the Nagaland border in Myanmar, and in Pangsu Pass, that is adjacent to Arunachal Pradesh. So over to you, Dada.
Okay, Longwa is a village which is on the tri-junction of Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and the Burmese province of, Kachin, is the Kachin state, and Sagaing region. So it's actually a junction of four places. Sagaing Division, Kachin state, these are two Burmese provinces, and India's Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh. Now, these bases are not located in Longwa, but these are located at some distance from Longwa inside Myanmar, because, and also Pangshaw Pass, which is the starting point of the Great Steel Rail Road. Again, the bases which have been hit around Pangshaw Pass and Longwa, these two reference points have come in the Alpha statement. These bases are located inside Myanmar, and the northeastern rebel groups like ULFA, United Liberation Front of Assam, and also some of these bases are shared with the Manipur Revolutionary People's Front, whose armed wing PLA is very active. Now, these bases are located inside Myanmar for a very long time because these rebel groups want a safe area where the Indian army cannot go and strike. If they're right on the border, Indian army may attack them. Indian army did launch, from time to time, some special forces action. If you recall, when in 2018,
2015 as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, when our military convoys were ambushed in Manipur, there were trans-border special forces action. But special forces action can't go very deep inside because special forces actions have to be quick and fast. If they delay, then there is enormous risk to the people who are conducting it. Anyway, come to the point here. the ULFA, in several press statements, they have issued three press statements so far, which I get from them in Assamese language, and they have blamed these attacks on India. They have said Indian military has launched this attack first between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday, that is on Sunday, and then subsequent attacks have taken place. Now they are saying they have lost three commanders. According to them, self-styled Lieutenant General Noyan Assam, whose actual name is Noyan Mehdi, and one of their self-styled brigadier and colonel has also been killed. 19 people, rebels have been injured. Um, the Indian Army, Colonel Rawat, who is the PRO, military PRO in Northeast, he has denied these attacks. He said Indian Army, he says we have no inputs of any
Yeah,
Indian
India
Army
denied it.
launching such.
India
Yes,
denied it.
denying in the sense that we have no knowledge of such attacks. Now, the fact is that the PRO, the public relations officer of the Indian Army, does not have knowledge of such attacks, does not mean the attacks have not taken place. He's very careful in his wording. We have no knowledge of such attacks.
I
We have no input.
I'll come to that part, Dada. But first of all, tell me how serious. I mean, is it a very serious damage on them?
Well, if Noyan Mehdi has been killed, he is at the moment the number two man in the organization. He's effectively heading their military wing, because Paresh Barua, who leads this Alpha faction, Alpha is two factions. One is involved in peace talks with India, Arvind Rajkhwar and others. Paresh Barua, who still refuses to join the peace talks, he calls his faction the ULFA independent faction. Now, Noyan Mehdi was the number two. To my knowledge, he's the second man in this organization. So if he is killed, it's a big damage. And then, two of his junior officers in the Alpha setup have been killed. So if these reports are correct, if the Alpha's claims are not wrong, and usually, Pratim, I have not come across rebels claiming losses unless they have really happened, because well, it demoralizes the rebel ranks if you claim that your people have been
Exactly.
killed.
Exactly.
Secondly,
It's
this
an
is very
war.
interesting.
In a
This is very
war,
interesting.
in a
Sorry.
war, no one accepts losses. That is a normal
Yeah.
thumb rule.
So
What
here
is
the Alpha is
interesting in this
accepting the.
case? That has been my question. What is interesting in this case? That ULFA-I is the first one which admitted the losses. Later on, we came to know about that another outlaw group. We also heard about NSCNK, but I don't know whether that is the way. But
No, NSCNK has
the
not
much
made any
important
claim.
factor is that one who suffered damage has come on their own and shouting from the rooftop that we have been hit. And those who have hit reportedly are denying it. So what is the significance?
No, the significance is very clear. The Alpha-A, their losses are serious, so they have been hurt. And if these people have died, they are important people in the present organization. You have to realize Alpha is not the organization today what it was 20 years back. It has very limited number of cadres who are still functioning. There has been a lot of desertions. There has been a lot of surrenders. And, Alpha is weak, so they can't afford losses. And therefore, they are making these claims. Also, one of the press notes says that the second wave of these drones hit the camp when they were conducting the cremation of their senior leader, Noyan Mehdi, or Noyan Ashom. They all call themselves Ashom these days, surname. They don't use their surnames to conceal. So they said, the second press note, that this attack took place when they were cremating Noyan Mehdi, and they're blaming the Indian army for brutalities and all that stuff. So they have been hit, and these losses are hurting them, and that's why they have gone public. Secondly, there may be another point here. The last time when the Indian government or the Indian military conducted special forces operations and our para commandos went inside Myanmar territory from Manipur after that attack on the Dogra regiment, which killed a lot of soldiers, 18 of them perhaps, the Burmese government lodged an official protest saying that you are violating our sovereignty. Now, here, I think the Alpha is going to town in a big way about these attacks because they want to provoke the military junta, which is now running the Burmese government, the SAC, Special Administrative Council, that the Indians have launched drone attacks in our bases, which is in your territory. This is very silly in a way because they are admitting that they are living in a foreign territory. Uh, so that actually, if they mean to provoke the Burmese government to come up with a protest, whatever maybe the provocation, Chinese backing or whatever, to lodge a formal protest. How can the Burmese actually do that? Because that will be tantamount to admission that, you know, Indian rebels or rebels who are operating against India are functioning from Burmese territory. It's very difficult for anybody. Pakistan, they harbor all kinds of terrorists, and we have launched these
Dada,
kind of
I have a
attacks on
question
them.
here. I have a question here. Myanmar's army traditionally, there were times when they cooperated with India in flushing out these people. Second, one narrative that I read yesterday said that Myanmar army, this particular operation was done in the know of the Myanmar army. And third, the Myanmar army had suffered serious setbacks in all these border areas in the last 2 years, right? So they don't have control anymore in these areas. So if India goes out and strikes some, ideally there should be a reason what that Myanmar army should be pleased. It may also be so.
I
Which one is
particularly
the fact?
don't think, Protim, I don't particularly think the Myanmar army will have very great reasons to be pleased because these Indian rebel groups are not attacking the Burmese army. They are not creating any problem for the world. The only thing is that they are based in Burmese territory, which makes it an issue between Myanmar and India. And India has continuously exerted pressure. And the Myanmar army sometimes has captured a few of these rebels. But the Myanmar government or the military junta there have to deal with very powerful insurgencies inside Myanmar. That's their priority. Their priority is not to oblige India and come and attack some Naga rebel base or some Alpha base. And these areas of Sagaing, I've been there, are very remote, are extremely remote areas. And Myanmar army does not have much of a control there anyway. So, there's no question of them being pleased or displeased either, because these areas have traditionally harbored, the Indian rebel groups have been here for a very long time, and the Myanmar armies have kept a safe distance from them. Occasionally, under Indian pressure, they have acted against them. 2 years back, they made a big drama about, not only capturing a few of these rebels, but handing them over to India. Indian planes went, brought these rebels back, 22 of them. But these are few and far between incidents. For such a long time, this has been going on. Because two reasons. A, these rebels don't disturb the Myanmar army very consciously. And the Myanmar army has bigger insurgencies like the Kachins, the Karens, the Shans, the Arakanis, very powerful insurgencies. And at the moment you write, last 2 years, they have lost so much territory to many of these rebel groups that they are in no position to mobilize resources to, attack these northeastern rebels to oblige India. That's certainly not anywhere in their list of priorities. So if the Indians do something, and if they do something like a drone attack informing them, they should not be particularly upset, or they don't have any reasons to be pleased. They can take a, well, we're not concerned kind of an attitude. As far as the Indians are concerned, the Indians have been careful not to go chest thumping. If they have launched these attacks, which I think is possibly the case, because who else will? There are no other. Either it has to be launched by the Burmese, who have drones, but they don't have enough drones to be using them against Indian rebels. They have these wing loon Chinese drones. They will use them against rebels who are fighting them directly, the Kachins or the Arakanis. So if these drone attacks have
Right.
happened,
If it is coming from Myanmar side, so it should be
but
on this.
India has Indian army by saying we are not involved, and even the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma has said, I have no knowledge of these attacks. Certainly, his state government is not involved. they have created a situation in which there is no reason for the Burmese to say, oh, our sovereignty has been violated. So India has been cautious here. What we do with Pakistan, is because we want to tell the world Pakistan harbors terrorists. We know that the Burmese willingly does not do it, the Burmese military junta. So here we have the Indian army has very good reasons to, sort of come up with some deniable argument, and that makes perfect sense. You attack,
Dada,
you cause
Dada,
damage.
sorry for interjecting, but it was told that Paresh Borua is backed by China.
So Paresh Borua lives possibly not in these areas which have been attacked. That's why, this was a targeted strike. It's quite clear that these days, when drones are launched, it is launched not aimlessly, but with a lot of prior intelligence, both technical intelligence as available from
Ground
satellite and
intelligence.
other resources. And also, it's likely a lot of these people have surrendered. So exact coordinates must have become available from surrendered rebels or some other human assets that the Indian intelligence may have in that area, quite likely. A point here that I'm trying to make is that this is perfect. You hit them, you use drones, you don't send special forces in their territory. Nobody can make any allegations where the drones came from. We don't
No,
know.
that is
Enough
where my question
deniability.
is, where I was trying to drag you, is that whether Paresh Borua faction is trying to draw attention of Myanmar army or someone else. Because we know that the region has become very hot with a couple of top players are involved now. And secondly, these attacks in Sagaing are taking place. This is adjacent to Chin province, which has also declared liberation, Chin army, like Rakhine.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
what I'm
Chins
trying
are
to
in
understand is
control.
that whether it has anything to do with the wider geopolitics that is going on in this area.
Well, if you are trying to suggest that the Alpha is going to town on this to draw China's attention, I would imagine the Chinese could care less because, the Chinese have backed insurgencies in the past in Northeast India. They backed the Nagas, Mizos, and to a certain extent, they even trained some of the Meitei rebel groups. Alpha, I have no record, no evidence that any Alpha unit, any Alpha leader, any Alpha guerrilla has gone to China and been trained there. For the very simple reason, I would imagine that the Chinese have their own assessments about who are capable of creating trouble, and they perhaps don't think the Alpha have received a lot of backing from the Pakistani military intelligence, that is ISI, in the past. Their people have gone to Pakistan, through Bangladesh when they were based in Bangladesh for training in different Pakistani locations. But I have no information of China training Alpha. They've trained the Nagas in many batches, the Mizos, when the Mizos were still fighting. And of course, some of the early Meitei rebels like Namai Rakpam Biseswar Singh, they all went to, Tibet through Nepal. Not big batches like the Nagas and Mizos. So, and from 1980s, there is no record of China directly arming or aiding any of these. Paresh Barua, the information that our intelligence has is that he maintains some kind of contact with Chinese intelligence. He's based in a place called Tengchong, which is inside Myanmar, opposite the Chinese town of Ruili, which is a very important border trading post. They maintain some contact with him, but I don't think the Chinese are really very keen on Alpha for the very simple reason they don't see Alpha as posing any major problems for the Indians. The Chinese are very pragmatic people. If they were to invest their time, energy, and money in some rebel group to cause disturbance or problems for India, they will do it with somebody who is capable of doing it big time, not someone like Alpha who is sort of not really capable of doing anything big, especially after the large scale desertions and surrenders that have taken place and the split in Alpha, two factions already. So I don't think
So,
the
so,
Alpha.
so, so does it mean, to wrap it up? So can we say that I remember a couple of years ago, so Himanta Biswa Sharma, in fact, invited Paresh Borua faction to join the peace talk, but that didn't happen. So can we expect something on that front as well?
Well, Paresh Baru has repeatedly said that the sovereignty of Assam has to be a part of the discussions, which no Indian government will ever accept. So, and he has stuck to that. Paresh Barua has other difficulties. His closeness with ISI activities, if he tries to surrender, maybe he will also be in danger. So I don't really think that these attacks will soften him up, if that is what you are suggesting, that you will soften him up and bring him to the table. Well, I don't see that happening. And certainly the alpha press statements that have come out, seems to, the wordage in Assamese which I read seems to be quite defined. So I don't think it has enough, it will bring Paresh Barua to the table. But having said that, it may certainly cause a loss of morale, a greater loss of morale in the alpha rank and file. And that could lead to some more desertion from the alpha ranks, with some of these rebels, who have seen these kind of drone attacks. They're clearly unnerved by it. They didn't expect this to happen. But if India is behind it, then India has tested these kind of tactics in Pakistan recently during the recent conflict, largely, using drones, missiles, and stuff like that. And they've used it now there. If that is the case and Alpha is quite unnerved, it will affect their rank and file and may cause some further desertions from the rank and file of Alpha. But I don't think it brings Paresh Baru to the table immediately, regardless of offers that he has received from the Assam government time and again.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shubidha. Thanks for joining the podcast.